Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Good, Anthony, and you?
Good. It's a news-filled day today. There's so much going on. I don't even know where we're going to start today, but I got a couple of good ideas. I thought maybe today we might start out with the Open AI's quietly shuts down all detection tools. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was interesting because I know quite a few professors who have lately been very concerned, and I'm not sure they should be, but very concerned on their students using ChatGPT to do their work and what it's and how it's affecting their teaching and what they're going to do going forward. They were thinking that this was a good tool. Now OpenAI came out and said it's not effective, it's not accurate, we got to shelf it for now.
So what OpenAI is saying is that, look, OpenAI isn't doing such a great job of detecting the whole idea is that teachers were able to run these papers through a detection system and see if they were being used by if they were using ChatGPT to perform this stuff and to try to check on students, but they're finding out the software is all messed up and it can't even tell if it can't even tell if it's a bot or not a bot, or if they're using AI or not using AI. And students are getting pegged and failing classes because it was wrong, and OpenAI has shut down their tool. Right? I think that's an interesting conversation.
No, that's correct, and I think that they have a lot more work to do on it. I'm not sure that ultimately they're going to be able to do anything about it. I mean, the more people that I know that are getting good at using this, they will tell you there's no way you can tell the difference between me and that because I edited enough to make it sound like me.
Every kid I know here, look, I had a graduation here for Bella this weekend, and I was talking to kids about AI and what they're doing. And look, every one of them's using it, and they all just know. Go in, you change a couple of words here and there. First of all, misspell a couple of words. They kind of intentional about that. They kind of do a couple of things and make it known that they've done some adjusting to it. But what I find more interesting is the conversation overall. Right? Remember when we were kids, the conversation around calculators and math was the conversation, right? I mean, how many kids are going to be stupid because they don't really know math and they're not really doing it because now they all got calculators? Are you allowed to bring calculators to school? This was the conversation we had when I was a kid and we were kids. And, I think it's a very similar conversation that the world's going through today, is noticing that, this new tool is essentially going to be writing papers. And the question is, should we be concerned?
Well, I mean, I guess my answer to that is no. I'm a big believer in that this is going to change the world in a more positive way. It's going to make us all smarter. It's going to make us all more effective and more productive. And yeah, will people lose jobs? And will there be people that some people are going to say that he's cheating? Well, I guess, but I really believe that if you learn to use ChatGPT, you're going to be much more effective in your life in the future. I want my kids to learn. I want my kids starting at 7-year-old to start using it, understand it, and be able to work with it.
I am more and more. You're exactly right. Look, I'm more and more amazed that people are not using it multiple times a day. I was in a meeting yesterday. I was interviewing a guy for an executive position at one of the companies I own, and we're interviewing, and we're talking about AI and how I'm pushing AI to the construction world. And he's like, "Look, this is years away. I want to retire." I'm like, "Look, what are you talking about?" He had no idea of where the company is and where the industry is, where AI is. And he'd never been on ChatGPT. He didn't even know what ChatGPT was, never even heard of it, right? Imagine that he's sitting here today, that a majority of our population is still unaware of what is happening in the AI world. The biggest conversation is going to happen to us in centuries, like literally the game changer of game changers. And they're sitting back and they're like completely unaware. In fact, most people I talk to that are in this are are trying to outlive it, or they're trying to out-retire. They're trying to get to retirement.
Trying to outrun it, I think you mean,
Outrun
right?
it.
Outrun it, yeah.
Yeah, they think they're going to get to retirement before they get to it's going to kick in.
Yeah, I agree, and I find it whenever I hear somebody say something like that's not going to affect my job. Well, I do, so as you know, on some of the stuff that I do is sales coaching, training, and they're like, well, it can't affect sales, right? Oh boy, yes, it can. right? And it's going to affect every single job that is out there if you don't learn how to use it properly.
I was just in a meeting with our business development folks, and they were showing off what they're doing with AI. Right, they've now got this algorithm, this system they've created where they've taken hundreds of thousands of leads that we have. They now put it into a model. They now have it's sending out to different type of parts of lead. They've taken the executives, they've taken the directors, they've taken the management people, they've taken the architects, the contractors, subcontractors, and they've classified them into so many little categories that now the AI model can now speak to those individuals. Right now, they go in and they take an email that wants to talk about the company and what we're trying to sell. They get them excited about it, right? And they give them steps and 5 things why you should use our company and why you should hire this company. And they'll adapt it to the executive. Why, as an executive, should you hire a third-party outsourcing company to manage your direct development? Why is it a smart move? And chat will write the email to tell why an executive and give them points as to why they should do this and bring it to their boardroom as a cost savings for an organization and create focus. And I was like, wow, this is exactly what we want to see. We want to see us practicing to use that AI model to take on and create language for the executive. Now they said, now change that same email and write it to the management team. Right? Why using this as a third-party outsourcing company works best for a management team? What does it do, and how does it help them manage the projects better? And it starts talking about flow and project flow, and talking about as the ebb and tide of projects kicks in, that you now have this third-party relationship with a company that can take your overflow and not tax your people. And I'm like, wow, how brilliant was that? And then talk about it at a lower level, and how having a third party company come in and work with your construction management shows other organizations' best practices. How do they do it? What are things that we can learn from each other? What are things that we can learn from the outsourcing company? And it all of a sudden wrote these emails in ways that fit the brands and or the people at the different levels. And it was the same bot, and now it sends out these drip campaigns that sends out 1,000 emails a day to different people, and we can up that ante. They're looking to up that ante, and then it can respond to it, right? If it doesn't get a response back and say, hey, I just noticed you sound like you're busy, our executive Anthony Montega or whoever it is would like to spend some time with you, and you're getting those emails, but they're getting smarter at the way they're writing it. They're actually getting it to where when you read the email, it's something you want to walk into your boardroom and talk about.
Yeah, no question about it. Let me come back to one of the things where you asked the question: is this something that we want to be using on a day-to-day basis? Or you said we should be using this on a day-to-day basis. To me, if you don't know about ChatGPT, and I know that's none of our listeners, and so and by the way, if you're a listener and you don't know about ChatGPT, reach out to somebody, reach out to us, and we'll send you a lot of information to be able to understand it more. But this is a place that you have to go. You have to understand it. You have to learn to use this. And if you're not, you're living under a rock and you don't expect to grow with it. I really believe that this is the future for everybody here. One of the things that I do want to say is that we need to be using it in all areas of our lives, and it's a must. Anyway,
well, they start to practice, right? When I sat down with this guy yesterday, he was in an interview with me, right? An interview for an executive position, and he's like, I've never used it. I go, well, let's do it. I brought my phone out. We put it together. We started talking about him in an interview and what he's doing and where he's doing and why. We put together a story about his interview and things he should be talking about. And boom, I put out that 1 second later, he had a whole story about him interviewing, and he was like, "Oh my God!" Now I go to chat, take that same man and talk about what are the things he should be talking about in his interview, and boom, 1 second later, he got 5 things to talk about. Hey, what are some things that you should bring up that might be interesting to the executive that you're talking to? Boom, a second later, he got another segment of that, and his eyes just lit up. He's like, "Where's this from?" It was like black magic. like look at it, like, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, now look, it's here now. This is not 10 years away. This is happening now, right? The what's happening is happening now. the places that the people that will take this and start to exploit this opportunity will separate from the rest of the group so fast that there'll be no catching up to them, right? So today, if you're not working that area, it really does become a big segment that people need to jump into and start to exploit and look forward to this opportunity.
I agree. I think because of time, we should probably go on to the next subject that we have here.
Yeah, let's go. I got Apple was threatening to kill iMessenger and FaceTime over in the UK. Do you see that story?
Yeah, I did, and I find it interesting. I think it's it's very similar to what happened here in the States. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, where the FBI was looking to have a backdoor into Apple to be able to go after terrorists or pedophiles. I don't remember exactly what it was at this particular point, but I think that's what's happening over there now.
Well, I got to tell you, I think it's exciting that they're doing that. Like, number one, I love the idea that this is a platform where I, should have some privacy, right? This is mine. I don't care who you are. This should be mine. Now, do I ultimately trust that here, audience? I wouldn't mind if you guys jumped in on this. Do you believe that that the government doesn't have its own backdoor or secret way into these platforms?
Well, I'll tell you this. I believe the government probably knows how to get into to get into the platforms. I'm not quite sure. I believe that they are that Apple or anybody else, for that matter, is allowing them to do it.
That's right. That's right. Well, so if they're doing it, there's no way that there's no way that they could even say that they're doing or use that information in any type of case or support for it. But ultimately, I don't know about you guys, but I have this sneaking suspicion that they pretend like they don't. And these kind of stories actually build what we believe is credibility, that Apple's not letting anybody do it, so let's talk about everything private, and they're not going to let you do it. And all of a sudden you kind of let your guard down. And all of a sudden things you're saying on social media are things that you probably should not be saying over the wire. If there are whatever those things are, it's not something I'm hiding, but there are people that are hiding things that all of a sudden they let their guard down and not realizing that the government and everybody else has this backdoor into it, and it kind of lulls them into it. So that in here, and you know me, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. If you're an audience member out there, I'd love your input. Please put that down in the comments. Give me what you think about these type of stories. Are they really designed to kind of lull us into believing that there's no way that anybody's watching this stuff, or do we really know that some backdoor, governments for thousands of years or for for eternity have been screwing other people, that maybe they do have some sense of ability to do this, and this is just a kind of a cover story. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and get that down below. I saw another one this week that I'd love to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about Mark Zuckerberg's Threads. Traffic is now down by 70% from the peak just 2 weeks ago.
Wow. 70%. No, I did not see that one. I missed that article, but I think that's an amazing thing. I don't know if that's going to be a long, but I don't, it's hard for me to believe that they went from 100 million users to now they're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 something million users. Is that what they're suggesting?
It's a dramatic drop off. Now, have you been on Threads a lot? Have you spent some time on Threads?
A little bit. It's a little boring.
It's a little boring, right? I think that's the problem. And that's the question I want to ask you is Threads ultimately too boring to be on there? Like, do we not need a little bit of drama? Is that why Twitter, or now X, we'll talk about that a little bit. Is that why we love Twitter? There was a little bit of drama in there. And as people, maybe it's just all positive all the times. Maybe a little bit of vomit in your mouth. It's kind of boring. What's your thoughts on that?
I think you're right. I think as much as we want to talk about always being a positive, positive in our lives, without some drama, life gets boring. And I think plenty of us know that, by some of the way we live our lives. And if we don't have that drama, we don't know how to go forward.
I find that that's kind of a little bit of it's funny. It's an interesting conversation. I think it's worthy of us to continue to look at that and just notice, just note it's kind of a beautiful thought. Do we need a little bit, as much as I need certainty, right? I need to know where my keys are so I can get in my car every day. I need just a little bit of drama, right? It's kind of like my life. I need some consistency every single day, right? I need to know where my keys are, that my family's fed, my family's safe. But I also get bored. Like all of a sudden, I need that, right? When we're on a platform and everything's so positive, hunky dory all the time, is a little bit too much for us, and ultimately it's losing its audience. So I think that's a beautiful one to keep watching and to learn. But I think that segues us into another conversation about Elon Musk doing it again. He's changing the name of Twitter to X. I
did read that article.
Yeah, I mean, look, every nation who's conquered another nation has loved to wipe away the history of the previous nation, right?
That's true.
Is this not the ultimate in doing that? Taking the FU to the Twitter folks and saying, "Hey, we've erased your name, right? We've taken over. We own this. We own this platform, and now we've erased your name from the history books."
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, like looking at it that way. This rebranding is something for me that I just, I have to say I've become more and more a Musk fan over the past couple of years. The fact that he could spend $44 billion on this thing, how the valuations now are that it's in half. He knows that he made a bad investment. He owns up to that when he's looking at the value of it today compared to then, but he's got a long-term view, and he's starting doing exactly what he said. He's rebranding this with this X, and by the way, he's going right after, or he's ignoring the fact that Meta is already saying that they have the X. So him and Zuckerberg are going to be at it again. They have the X as a logo, so they're trying to argue against him being able to use it already. He doesn't care. And it's already rebranded as of yesterday. Go to twitter.com right now. You're going to see X. You're not going to see Twitter anymore. You're not going to see the Twitter logo anymore.
I just find it, the thing about Elon that I find so surprising is in the face of financial, he's not here chasing the dollar. I guess when you have that much money, and he's got some ethics, I don't know if everybody always agrees with his ethics, but ultimately he's trying to create a platform that he believes is freedom of speech, giving people a platform to speak from, that he hated the way that it was being manipulated by whoever was manipulated before, and whatever social injustice he felt was happening there, that even in the face of, the investors that he brought with him to go take on this purchase, there's billions of dollars invested in the purchase of this, and they've lost a lot of money going through it, and he still continues to make these changes. I mean, there's $1 billion in brand equity.
There was billions of dollars in brand equity here, because what else did he buy, right? I mean, there was one of the reasons why it lost so much value is because there was most of the traffic, or a good portion of the traffic, was bots. And he tried to get out of it. He tried to get out of the purchase, or at least the purchase price. Because of that, he was unable to, so he went through with it. So when you think about the brand value that he just decided to wipe out by changing into X right now, that he's something else. I mean, I got to hand it to him. Kudos to him to be able to go for it like that.
Well, it feels like I would love to have that kind of stamina to go through and have that much conviction that I'm not financially driven. Now, maybe it's a little easier when you have billions of dollars in your pocket, stand on that high moral ground, as opposed to when I'm trying to make sure I get my bills paid every day. So, but it's interesting. So audience, I'd love to get some of your input on that. Please put your comments down below about your thoughts on Elon and what he's doing with X and wiping away the Twitter brand forever, right? Imagine that, just wiping them off the planet. And just imagine what all those Twitter executives have got to be sitting there just stomping on the floor with resentment and frustration, which, I find that an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Let's go on to, did you see that story about Whole Foods, right? Whole Foods is now got a palm reader, right?
So does this bring us closer to the chip?
I look, for sure, this is practice for the chip, right? As we looked at kiosk before, as we looked at, you know, all the different changes that we're making, the palm reader ultimately is the next iteration getting us to a chip. Look, I don't know why we can't just go to the chip, because I don't know that people are comfortable with this yet, and they're all kind of, you know, I'm not gonna put something in me. But as we start to get more and more convenient, right? You know, look, every time I walk into a doctor's office and I got to fill up paperwork, I'm like, really? I can Facebook from the crapper, and you can't figure out how to get rid of all this paperwork I got to do?
Right.
Somewhere in there, you're going to be able to carry your medical records in a chip that you carry with you. And, you know, it'll start to put that your financial stuff, your financial information, and be able to carry that stuff as a human being. And they're now looking at this chip technology. But ultimately, when you look at what they're doing at Whole Foods, it gives them the ability to make that transaction happen a little bit faster, right?
Well, it's
I'm
not
not
just
sure.
Whole Foods. It's not just Whole Foods. It's all of Amazon's stores that they have out there and Whole Foods. You know, Amazon, tried to take a run at this, and I think they are doing this in some stores where you walk into an Amazon store by facial recognition. When you're filling your card up, it's actually by the time you could check out, it already has everything that you have in your cart, and you just have to check out with the card. Well, now it's going to with your palm.
It's an amazing, you know, we're getting smarter at this, ultimately making transactions easier to go through. You know, I was, you know, we're now getting way smarter with the way that these stores are operating, right? You walk into an Amazon store and it knows what you're purchasing as you walk around, what you pull off a shelf. It's learning, you know, this whole technology piece. It's transitioning from not just the Amazon store. They're kind of the beta testers for the whole software and what they're working on. But this is going to work through same thing with Home Depots, Lowe's, a bunch of the bigger brands that are out there. You know, as they start to add chips to every component, they'll be able to scan your entire cart, know exactly what you have in there. And you know, it's kind of an interesting thought. Now you kind of, you know, these RFID chips they're putting in everything, being able to get you know, be able to scan that technology. I think there's going to be some ups and some downs. You're going to hear stories about people being able to scan your house and know what's in it. You know, I've heard stories about that might be a little bit scary, but you know, now all of a sudden a thief can go by and scan your house and go, oh, look, he's got a, something I want, whatever that is anymore.
That's interesting. I never thought about that, but that makes that is a little bit scary.
You know, as we keep moving forward with this technology, I saw Sam Altman's got another cryptocurrency that's coming out that maybe is going to save us from the bots breaking our cryptocurrency.
A WorldCoin.
WorldCoin. You see that? He
Yeah.
now wants to tie the WorldCoin into your iris detection, right? To be able to use your eye, your retina detection, to be able to see, you know, use your eye to confirm that it's you, right? Did you see that whole story?
I did, and he's actually talked about it in a few different articles, some different places that they wrote about him. Financial Times reports on it a little bit, and they talk about what his vision is. What he says his vision is now is to be able to try to avoid or to minimize government um, uh, interaction or government regulations on dealing with AI by allowing businesses to be able to do it. And using one of his products as an example, this eye detection along with payment is a way to be able to prove who you are. Right? It's a way to be able to not be concerned that somebody's going to be able to use you or a fake you out there to be able to do transactions. They'll have to be able to prove it through your iris scan.
Well, you know, it's a beautiful idea that you know, now that we've got the AI that can essentially start to break the cryptocurrency, you know, the technology, that they're more and more concerned about. They're trying to up the ante on that and say, hey, we've upped the ante on the cryptocurrency chain, the blockchain technology that holds that together. We're getting even deeper in that. But you know, as AI and supercomputers come into play, we're going to see more and more attacks on the cryptocurrency being effective and useful, right? The whole value of our financial system was that, you know, we didn't tolerate we didn't tolerate counterfeit money, right? I mean, we all knew that if we counterfeited money, you'd go to federal prison, and nobody wanted to go to federal prison. You knew that, even when you played around as a kid, you got a Xerox machine, you're like, look, I'm rich. You realized in that moment when your mom said, no, 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 no. There was severity. That was something we don't mess around with. That our whole financial system depends on the ability for us to have a secure money system that's not being counterfeited. Because if we counterfeit it, also we'll lose trust in our financial network, and that becomes ultimately the collapse of the financial system.
Yeah, well, I think that's what he's trying to do here. I mean, he already had 2 million users in beta. They're going to be opening it up to 30 countries. I believe it's 30 countries around the world, and they're expecting this thing to grow very quickly. So I think it's a very interesting concept. I don't know, for me personally, it's kind of a little scary having to scan your eyes. Not sure exactly how it works. We got to look into that a little bit more, but it's definitely interesting to watch what Sam Altman is doing out there now.
I think you'll be able to do it from your cell phone and be able to watch it very quickly. I saw the valuation of this company. Look, imagine this: $850 million out of the gate, right? Look, you're starting the company. Look, it's an idea. This is what blows me away even more. They're valuating the company at $850 million, and they haven't started the whole thing. They got 200 people using it, and you're going
2 million people. 2 million people using it.
2 million people using it, and
2 million beta users. So it's a little more than an idea, but I think you're right. There's no revenue. There's no site for revenue. I'm not sure how that's going to work, and it's a valuation that's pretty lofty, if you ask me. But it seems like people are going to pay for it.
I think it's going to be an interesting conversation to watch. I think we're going to watch as they do this. Now, OpenAI goes from the digital world of AI language models to now the financial models. Feel that those changes happen pretty quickly. All right, so last story I think might be my favorite story to talk about is: have you seen the new car that has come out that we're looking at, the V8 powered manual American V8, the days of challenging the electric car? Have you seen this by Ford?
I haven't seen the car. I read the story. I keep meaning to go look up the car. Are we able to show that? Do you have that?
It's literally got the V8. It's got a V8 rear wheel drive car, right? It's kind of sticking its thumb up, its nose up at the electric car. Ford was interviewed just recently by CNN. I was watching an article with them, and look, I don't know what I think about Ford. Part of me says they're a little bit behind, but they're kind of like the old taxi driver, right? They are trying to hold on to their shield, right? They're not trying to let go. Look, the internal combustion engine has, from Ford's great grandfather, been the car that's run the company. And throughout its history, Ford has missed a bunch of the boats. It's missed the Japanese boat, the Korean boat, right? As these new technologies have come in, these new players have come into the game, I feel like Ford has lost its ability to compete. And it's trying to do the same thing here with electric, right? It's trying to hold on to the old muscle car, which I'm not saying that people don't still love. Like there's still a large segment of the market that wants that power, wants to be able to get in that thing and hear that wow, right? I mean, we saw some other electric cars come out that are perpetrating the fraud with the sound, right? They make it sound like a muscle car, even though it's an electric car. They kind of kept the sound going with it. But I wonder what the audience thinks. How many people are still wanting to hear and feel that internal combustion engine and just know that I've got power there? Or is this just kind of an old school holdout that's just not willing to make the change?
Yeah, I would love to hear that as well. I'm one of those people that I'm a little nostalgic about seeing all this go away, all the cars go away. So when I hear something like this, I think it's pretty cool. I love the fact that Ford's just sticking it out there, saying, you know what, we're not just ready to lay down just yet and go all electric. We want people to be able to feel the muscle car that they love, that they know. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to hear what everybody else thinks out there.
Well, we as a family have both, right? We've got a Tesla, and I love that Tesla. Look, I love it, but I'm not going to lie that I kind of find it annoying still to go on long trips with it, right? I still haven't figured out how to go on long trips in ways where I don't get range anxiety. Knowing that I can stop at every gas station along the way. I drive a Suburban, which is a gas guzzling tank, but I can put all my people in it. I can load the crap out of that thing out there, and I can trudge my way down back and forth from here to Florida, from Chicago to Florida, and it's a 20-hour trip. I kind of enjoy that. We as a family jump in, we can communicate, but I do love the ability for the Tesla to drive itself. Now, the day that I'm able to get in a Suburban or to a vehicle and I'm not driving it, I don't care what it is. Whoever gets to me that first, where I can get in a vehicle, it'll take off from my house. I'll end up in Florida. I'll be able to sleep, eat, watch TV, maybe even shower or entertain myself. Right, the things that might be able to happen in cars of the future, to me, are what's starting to excite me about where the world's going. As autonomous driving starts to kick in, I don't care if it's an internal combustion engine or an electric engine. I want the ability to do different things in vehicles, right? The tedious task of driving sometimes gets overwhelming. It'd be great to start to see, a dining cart or a vehicle that I could sleep in or shower in, right? Or a place where I might be able to
just be on your computer.
I could be on my computer, right? I could be working, I can be talking or communicating or telecommunicating, right? Having the ability to look up ideas, the things that we're going to be able to do in cars in the future, I believe are going to blow us away. Audience, I'd like to have you guys come up with ideas. What are things that you can do with it? Not you dirty folks. I don't need to know about all your dirty stuff that you're going to do in cars, right? I mean, look, okay, although you'll be able to do it. I don't need all that stuff. So let's go for what are some creative ideas that you might be able to do? I saw one the other day with Domino's Pizza. They're working on a pizza delivery vehicle that makes pizzas on the way to your house, right? They're being able to get to a pizza delivery machine that delivers in under 8 minutes. Imagine that you order pizza before you can go wash your hands and get your kids cleaned up and sitting at a table. The pizza's there, right? Imagine that. 8 minutes.
It's going to actually make it in the car on the way there.
Make it in the car on the way to you.
Yeah, I read that story, and that's just amazing. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to pull that off, but it's an interesting story. There's no question about it.
That's the kind of stuff that's going to happen, right? As we get to autonomous vehicles, and we don't have to sit there at the wheel. And my belief is that it'll drive better than we do, right? As we really get to full general AI, we've talked about this a bunch. As humans, right? As we evolved from being a baby, being able to crawl, and then walk, and then run, right? That same technology that got us to running is the same technology we have to drive cars. Right, the same technology has us drive boats. The same technology has us fly planes. It has that technology transfers over to other parts of our being. Right, it's kind of a beautiful thought in that once we learned to walk, once we learned to run, that became part of something that we could do really, really well. So I think it's another interesting story for us to talk about. Audience, I'd like to hear your input on that. If you could put that down below, I'd be grateful.